Got a shot at coffee. That is beautiful. Woo! Yes, I'm Friday, Monday, Tuesday, from what I understand. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. Okay. Okay, cool. Very nice pop impression. Here we go.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day.
Oh, I got to do this. The Facebook evildoers want to run us for playing music. We are getting so close to Super Bowl 56. 2 full days since this day has already begun, Thursday. So the full days of Friday and Saturday, and then a little after 5:30 on Sunday. My goodness gracious, it will be time for Super Bowl 56. We talk a lot of Super Bowl here, as God intended. We talk a lot of as God intended. So lots going on. We'll talk NBA. The trade deadline is today at 2 o'clock, and a couple of single-digit ranked basketball teams in college basketball in the great state of Texas go down last night. Lots to cover. Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Shannon, what is happening this morning? How are you?
Chris, I'm having a great day so far. Yesterday, boil water notice lifted. I'm able to go to my Dunkin' and get my coffee. Still boil water notice. I continue to get text and phone calls from the city yesterday. So excited to go to Dunkin' again this morning. I do my pre-order before I get in my car so that it's ready at the window for me. I can just drive on through, and I get there and they say, "Our latte machine is broken, ma'am." And I'm not always a latte girl. They've got a special right now. And you know, I love to save me some money. So I'm all about the specials. So they say, "What else can we get you?" And so I like defaulted back to my usual drink, and I pull up to the window and I say, "Hey, thanks so much. Have a great morning." They say, "Hey, do you want a donut? Do you just want a donut?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes."
Nice.
And the guy who is normally at the window, he already knew which one I wanted. So I got me a free donut this morning. It's going to be a good day, Chris.
Now, was the donut a peace offering, which is great customer service? Was it a peace offering because they didn't have the latte, or like you said, the guy knew what donut you wanted? Is it? It's like, oh, there's Shannon, or is it both? It's like, wow, we love her. She's a regular customer. She didn't get what she wanted this morning. Let's give her a donut on the way out.
I kind of want to say it was both, because the drink that I got instead, especially considering the drink I ordered was on a special, but the drink I got instead, I believe, is typically a little bit more expensive, not like by dollars, but by, 25, 50 cents or so. But it's a lot of pressure. Like ordering coffee anywhere is like, you have to have it memorized, right? What kind of milk, what kind of flavor, what kind of actual coffee you want. And so when they were like, what else do you want? I had this moment of like, I don't know. But I was able to default back to my regular, but an amazing morning. So thanks to my local Dunkin' for the hookup. I'm gonna have a great day.
See, it reminds me a little bit. I used to manage a restaurant in Southern California called Islands. Burgers, sandwiches. It had a bar, so there was alcohol. But they gave me the discretion as the manager, like 20 meals or items per month, I could comp someone. So whenever we got an order wrong, which happened more often than not, it seemed. My theory as a manager was customer service. We did something here. We got it wrong. We inconvenienced a customer. I want this person to have a great experience in my restaurant. So I would always say, hey, sorry, we screwed that up. Let me bring out the right order and we're going to comp it. You don't have to pay for it. Enjoy. I did that a lot. I did that a lot. I would exceed my 20 menu items or whatever it was per month. So I used to always get into trouble. But I would always, and whenever I've experienced that, like, you got a donut, not a huge thing, but made you feel good today. To me, it makes you want, whatever the business is, and in this case, a food service, it makes you want to come back. It's like, you know what? They care about me. They like me. They did something nice for me today. And I mean, you're already a hardcore Dunkin', advocate and devotee, but I think that's good business. I think they did a really good thing this morning.
Yeah, and I don't have many rules that I live by, but one of them is if it's free, it's for me. So when you offer me a free donut, of course I'm going to take it. Of course I'm going to take it.
Nice. Of course, one of mine has always been, if the minimum wasn't good enough, it wouldn't be the minimum. So there's that. I learned that at the Air Force Academy. You would think the last place you're going to learn a motto like that. When I was at the Air Force Academy, it's like, all right, it's, what's the minimum grade point average we need here? What's the minimum we have to do for the physical fitness training? And then somebody told me there, they said, just remember, if the minimum wasn't good enough, it wouldn't be the minimum. So just shoot for the minimum, get the minimum done, and you're good. You're in. You're fine. Cooperate and graduate. There you go.
Is that similar to like you don't need to win every battle, you just need to win the war? As long as that's the overall goal.
Yes.
It's
that's a bigger concept. It's like, let's win the war. But it's like, you could bang your head against the wall trying to be the best at something, or you could say, you know what? Let's achieve the minimum, which is good enough, and then let's go have a beer, and then let's enjoy the rest of our day. So, anyway, I just always thought that would be a good T-shirt, or maybe put that on a class ring or something.
Yeah.
Spurs last night, Shannon. I was kind of hoping that they would win their first game of the rodeo road trip. You and I and Dave OEHLER, we had Bill Schoening on the show yesterday, and talked a little rodeo road trip. They lose double digits. They lose in Cleveland, 105-92. It was close much of the game. Spurs cut it to 7 single digits midway fourth quarter. It was 90-83, but it was not to be. Spurs kind of sucked from three-point country. They were 8 of 33 from three-point land, which is about 24%. And more and more, Shannon, you and I have talked about this. If you look at a game in the NBA and just look at 3 points, who won the three-point battle? Who shot better? Who got more three-point shots? Usually that team wins. Usually certainly every other category matters. Turnovers, rebounds, field goals inside the three-point arc. But Spurs were pretty god-awful from three-point range last night.
Yeah. I mean, they made 8, the Cavs made 9, but I think the glaring difference is the attempts there. I mean, Cavs were 9 from 21 from 3, where the Spurs were 8 from 33. I mean, they're attempting, which in years past, I mean, that number has certainly gone up. It's the going in part that we need to work on a little bit. Now, today is February 10th. The trade deadline will hit this afternoon. Do you feel anything coming for the Spurs, or you think this is who we're riding with the rest of the way?
The Spurs are rarely big players when it comes to trade deadline. They did acquire somebody yesterday in kind of a minor deal. There was a three-way deal yesterday. It wasn't minor for the Utah Jazz or the Portland Trail Blazers, but in the three-way deal, the Spurs got Tomas Satoransky and a second-round pick. They had a guy on their roster who'd only been there a short time. His name was Juancho Hernan Gomez. They sent him to Utah. But in that deal, the Utah Jazz, let me see if I get this right. The Utah Jazz get a really valued young player named Nikolai Alexander Walker. He's supposed to be a big deal someday. And they gave up Joe Ingles, who was kind of a big sixth man for them, but he's been injured this year. And somebody named Elijah Hughes. There were you hear that deal, Shannon, and obviously no huge names there. I don't think the Spurs are going to make a move. They, for whatever the reason, and again, you look at their record, and again, they lost last night, and you say, wow, this is a really down year for the Spurs. They're 20-35. That's the current record. But as somebody who watches all the games, because I'm Spurs radio with Bill Schoening, I still think their level of play and the talent on that roster, I think they're a good young team. I would almost say a very good young team. Obviously, there's some very good players like DeJounte Murray, a newly minted NBA All-Star. So I got a feeling that they feel they're on the right track. I think they're see, yesterday there were 2 games out. I haven't looked at the standings this morning. They were 2 games out of the 10 slot, which is a play-in position in the Western Conference. So to answer your question, it took me a long time to answer your question. I don't think they're going to make a big move today. Now, all eyes on the NBA are on Russell Westbrook. Is LA going to move him? He didn't play again last night. They said, he's got back problems. It's been like 3 games in a row since the Lakers have played Russell Westbrook. Some people say, they're just getting ready to trade him. They don't want to hurt him, so get ready. And trade deadline is 2:00 today. And as we've discussed, James Harden of the Brooklyn Nets, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Some people think he's just going to walk. If you're the Brooklyn Nets, do you want to just let him walk? Or do you want to get some value for him? Plus, he's not, all that as far as what you had hoped to form a big 3 with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So that'll be your big watch today, Shannon, between now and 2 p.m. Do the Lakers move Russell Westbrook? Do the Brooklyn Nets move James Harden? And secondarily, the Philadelphia 76ers, there's talk there, are they going to make a move? Because they've got some moves they might make as well.
First of all, when I hear you talk about the Spurs, I'm just waiting for you to refer to them as the Bengals of the NBA.
Hey! I like that.
Make a huge leap from one year to the next with all of that young talent, and then the James Harden situation. It feels like a he said, she said kind of thing right now, because you get all these exterior, he's not happy, he wants out, he wants to go somewhere that he feels is actually going to win championship. He's not happy with Kyrie in that situation, and then the head coach Steve Nash is like, no, he's fine here, everything's great. But then yesterday he's once again trending that there are these packages being formed behind the scenes, and it could be the Sixers. So that one will be super interesting. My gut kind of tells me he'll stick around. I think that's still the best chance for him to win a ring at this moment. I can't imagine what that guy would feel like if he jumped ship and then all of a sudden Brooklyn turns it on in the back half of the season. KD comes back from the injury and Kyrie's in full swing, and they end up doing what they expected to do the entire time. And then Russell, that's really interesting because we talked about him a little bit yesterday. Lakers not performing up to what they believe they should. He gets benched in the 4th quarter, and then he doesn't play last night for, I think it was a lower back strain, something of that.
That's what they called it. Yeah.
Sure? Are we sure that's
people
why
are
he
doubting
wasn't
that?
playing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Good question.
I'll believe it.
And of course, you brought up the 76ers. It's Ben Simmons is, the third name that people are questioning, and so there could be a James Harden thing there. I heard one interesting trade, and I forget all the other parts involved, but what piqued my interest was, one of these analysts, national analysts, was saying James Harden and Patty Mills for Ben Simmons, and then somebody else with Philadelphia. My God, Patty Mills probably now. We talked about this yesterday. Brooklyn has lost 9 in a row. No team in NBA history has lost 9 in a row in the regular season, or obviously postseason. That would get you eliminated. No team has ever lost 9 in a row and gone to the conference finals. So just based on that 9-game losing streak, you got to believe historically Brooklyn's not going to go far in the playoffs, even though they were expected to. If a deal like that was done and the Brooklyn Nets moved Patty Mills to the Philadelphia 76ers, he'd probably be thrilled. I think the Sixers have a much better shot at going to the finals this year than do the Brooklyn Nets.
Yes, but also just looking at their records, they're only 3 games ahead of the Nets at 32 wins.
There's
the
that.
Nets 29. Nets currently sitting in the 8th seed in the East, while the Sixers are in the 5th spot.
Well, and as Bill Schoening told us yesterday, he said he believes, and he pays more attention to this certainly than I do. He believes the Eastern Conference is wide open. And he's probably right. I mean, the team the Spurs played last night, Cleveland Cavaliers, they're in the 4 slot right now. Well, and they're tied with the Bulls, who are in the 3 slot, but Cleveland's been in that 3 slot a lot in the Eastern Conference this year. So, in order right now, the standings in the East: Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers, Philadelphia 76ers. You got to believe any of those teams go to the finals. Toronto Raptors, maybe. Pascal Siakam, a big force for them. But for Brooklyn to be below Boston, Brooklyn right now in the 8th slot, and that used to be the cutoff for postseason whatsoever. Now we've got the play-ins. So if you make number 9 or make number 10, you at least get a play-in opportunity. For the Nets to be at number 8 right now, having lost 9 in a row, with all the talent on that team, that's because we talk about Kevin Durant and James Harden and Kyrie Irving on the road games. They've also got, we mentioned Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge. Who's the big dude from Oklahoma who used to play with the LA Clippers? Why am I forgetting his name?
Oh my gosh, Blake Griffin.
Thank you very much. Yes. Blake Griffin. I mean, a few years ago, Blake Griffin was a big deal. And certainly as a guy coming on, Blake Griffin's coming off your bench. LaMarcus Aldridge is coming off your bench. I mean, there's so much talent, you would think, on that Brooklyn Nets team. I am stunned. That they're in the number 8 slot. All right, we'll talk some. Not only, and I want to get into where are my Texas Tech fans this morning? We usually get Wes Perkins and Clint Proctor on the live video feed crowing about their Texas Tech Red Raiders. Not so much this morning after number 9 Texas Tech falls to OU. You're going to lose to somebody. Don't lose to Oklahoma. I hope Andy Everett's not listening. He'll be joining us at 8:35. He's an Oklahoma grad. Also, number 6 Houston falling to SMU last night. What's happening to the teams out of the great state of Texas? In that case, in the top 10, number 6 and number 9. We'll get into everything. Obviously, NFL, the Super Bowl, coaching changes, some very interesting questions for Commissioner Roger Goodell out at the Super Bowl yesterday. We'll get into all of that. Daniel Snyder, the latest ugliness involving the Washington Commanders. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Coming up, we will meet Dave OEHLER, who is bedecked in his St. Louis Blues 50th anniversary long sleeve t-shirt this morning. Lots coming at you. You want to join us? You are always welcome to join us on the phone lines, 800-707-9760, and on the live video feed. And your chance to win $1,000 at 7:20 and at 8:20. Don't go anywhere. The high five play of the day is next, and it is golden. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. I didn't have my mic muted. I didn't see your echo messages, everybody. I see them now. Sorry about that. With this new world order, that's just one more hoop I got to jump through every time we go live on the radio, I got to turn my mic feed off on this console. So. Okay, let me see. Who do we have? Neil Cole, good morning. Oh, there's Wes Perkins. I called you out on the radio, Wes Perkins. Not so cocky now, are you? Hector Gomez. I keyed. Hector Gomez, Anthony Del Toro, Tracy Bogert, the chairman of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans, coronavirus deniers, and free voting suppressors. Welcome. Cody Webb, good morning. Sam Tobias, Luisa Alanis, Brian Mendoza, Houston Rockets fan. Haven't seen you in a while, Brian Mendoza. Welcome. Joe Garcia, 29 degrees in Pueblo, on his way to Colorado Springs, or vice versa. Beth Settle, good morning, Beth. You're up early. Neil Cole. All right. They couldn't hit water if they jumped out of a boat. That is what's so weird in the NBA and in college basketball, how you can be so good and so red hot sometimes and then, go ice cold. And I read this thing, no team in college basketball has gone undefeated since Indiana University under Bobby Knight. I think it was 1976. I had that stat in front of me yesterday. That's off the top of my head now. I may have the year wrong. But, you would think, and, when I was growing up, UCLA with John Wooden at head coach and Bill Walton and company, I mean, they were just never losing. They had like a 66 game or an 88 game win streak. All right. I will try not to burden you with that echo in the next segment. My bad. Thank you, Marcus Valdespino. You are a walking encyclopedia of sports. I always appreciate your coming in here with the facts. I do have my Spurs glasses. I mean, I usually save these for a Spurs win. I got my Gregory Charles Popovich prayer candle. Maybe I should have busted it out yesterday to go on the rodeo road trip. Maybe I think I'll bring it back tomorrow. All right. Let's see some of these stories. Nathan Chen. I've got his daily diet here. I'll have to bring that up to Shannon. UNLV almost went undefeated until Duke beat them in 1990. I got to believe that was that Jerry Tarkanian? Now, or was that post Tarkanian? Did Tarka go back to UNLV after his 6 weeks with the Spurs? I would have to look that up. Man, I really thought Jerry Tarkanian, when he came here to San Antonio, I thought that was going to work. And then we got Lloyd Daniels, Swee P, probably only Marcus in here, and Hector Gomez, maybe Tracy Bogert will remember Swee P, not Sweet, Swee, S-W-E-E, Swee P, Lloyd Daniels, who never went to college, and it was rumored that he had like some learning disabilities. He played on the playgrounds of New York City, He was supposed to be something, just a phenom. So Spurs get Jerry Tarkanian, and they get Sweeney. Okay, now that's interesting. They did a documentary on Lloyd Daniels. I would love to see that, man, at the San Antonio Film Festival. Wow, Marcus, I got to go look. Sometimes they'll put a documentary like that on YouTube. I would love to see that. And I mean, it wasn't just me. It was some people who knew a lot more basketball than I do, saying this is, Lloyd Daniels is going to be the next big thing in the NBA. And it did not happen. The NFL is funding a cannabis pain management study. Legalize it. Don't criticize it. Thank you. Public service announcement. All right. Going to try real hard to remember to turn my mic off for this next segment. I see some Super Bowl prop bets. Any kick that hits the uprights. That's a good prop bet. Will a kick, I mean, how many times does a field goal hit the uprights? And they're saying any kick. It could be a punt. Could be a kickoff. Who wins the coin toss? Cooper Kupp over-unders for his yardage. A lot of, that's getting a lot of action, apparently. Yeah, Wes Perkins. Man, I didn't think you were old enough to remember those days. Tark and John Lucas. Yeah, I have it on very high authority. A very high-ranking city official. And that person has never said that I can say their name. It was kind of told to me in confidence, but the vote for the AT&T Center, which was the SBC Center originally, Spurs were playing in the Alamo Dome. There was an investment group in Baltimore, Maryland, with the money to buy the Spurs and move them. And this person, who has won elections, plural, in this town, told me that if the Spurs, the vote, and it was close, to build the new arena, if that did not go through, the Spurs would have been sold and moved. And I always go back and I remind people of this. On election day, Jay Howard and Andy Everett were on the radio. WOAI. Just bang. And I think Andrew Ashwood was a part of this, just keeping them on the air to tell people, you got to go vote if you're a Spurs fan. You got to go vote. You got to take 4 people with you. Take other Spurs fans. Call Spurs fans who you know. All right, let me do this. I'm going to mute my mic. What up, John Williams? Welcome in, Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon in that entire first segment for people who are watching the live video feed. And if you didn't watch the live video feed in the first segment, you're lucky, because the way this thing is currently set up, I'm so happy. If I don't remember to mute my mic for the live video feed, because apparently the sound is routed through your end of this loop between Austin and San Antonio, Texas, into the live video feed, there's this god-awful echo, and I forgot to mute my mic for the feed. So I treated all of our listeners / viewers to an ear-bleeding echo, which currently is not happening. So we invite you now to join the live video feed. So and I usually see the comments, oh my God, that echo is horrible. Stop it. Make it stop. But I didn't see that. So, all right. So anyway, there's that. No echo right now on the live. We are echo free on the live video feed. So Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, come hang out with us.
There's a reason we're radio people and not television people, not video people.
Yes.
We do what we can.
Precisely. Yeah, we do the best we can.
As we talked about earlier, the minimum.
And again, Shannon, if the minimum weren't good enough, it wouldn't be the minimum. So I have a minimum knowledge of live streaming.
That's right.
I'm working on
There's
it.
video
Dave
and there's
OEHLER,
sound. What else do you need?
Well, see, Shannon, you are much more technical than I am. You have done what Dave OEHLER does. This huge, if you saw these soundboards that are in front of Dave and in front of Shannon and even in front of me in this studio, a gazillion buttons, a gazillion levers. I know I know how to talk into the stick right here. I know where the on button is on my microphone, talk into the stick, and magically people hear it on the radio. It's you, Shannon, and Mr. Dave OEHLER, our Soundscape stylist, who know all these highfalutin technical things that I've never learned, because if the minimum weren't good enough, it wouldn't. If I learned, see, and that's the Charlie Parker School of Radio. If you learn that, then they're going to ask you to use that skill. So I never learned. So now nobody goes, oh man, the board ops haven't shown up, Chris. You're going to have to run your own board. Dave OEHLER, good morning. Nobody says that to me because they know I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Nobody says that to me either, because they just assume that I know when I just go in there and do your thing. And Chris, you're only allowed to press that one button. Don't touch anything else.
I know
they're all pretty and all lit up, and you want to touch everything.
They're very pretty.
You just touch that one button. That's all you're allowed to touch.
It kind of looks like Christmas. I see red, green, blue, purple, turquoise, sea blue. Very, very nice. Very, very colorful soundboard just sitting right in front of me with all kinds of buttons.
Well, and you're getting a new one at some point.
Lit up, let it lit up. If it's lit up, let it be lit up. If it's off, don't turn it on. Unless it's that one button you're allowed to push.
Thank you, sir. And now, Shannon, you just broke some news. We're getting new soundboards here in San Antonio. What do you know about that?
Just specifically for you, because of our very fun situation. You know that fun little lag that we have between you and me that's like 1 second, but can sometimes feel like an eternity? That's because your board is 3 whole years older than mine, and it's not up to snuff. So they've ordered you one, and they're waiting for it to get there, and then they have to find somebody to set it up.
See, and people who listen to the show just think that's a very pregnant, thoughtful pause.
Yes.
And what that is, again, pulling back the curtain, Shannon is in Austin. Dave and I are in San Antonio, and for whatever and this happens a lot in media. I've had it happen before in radio, and it happens in TV. You'll see it in TV in a live interview from the studio to somebody out in the field. When someone asks somebody a question, there's like a second or two delay that seems like an eternity. And for people listening on the radio, they go, wow, Chris or Shannon's really thinking about that question and taking a moment before answering. So so that's what's so good. So there's hope. So eventually you and I will be like bam, 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 back and forth.
Yeah,
it'll be like tennis. Pew, pew, it'll be amazing.
We'll be back on top of things. In fact, I'm
Tennis or
going to email
squash or-
them right now and say, what up with that board? Is it still on a cargo ship
Yes.
out in the middle of the ocean?
Who's the who's in charge of that? Who's the lead engineer at iHeart Media in charge of it? Who are you emailing?
I think James is the guy. I won't throw out his last name.
I don't think I know James. Okay.
He's-
Hey, James, get on it, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's see, they're installing new equipment in there. What could possibly go wrong with that?
Exactly. Yes. Well, and the same thing, Shannon, you moved into new studios. And when we moved into these studios a couple of years ago, and I guess maybe it's 3 now, it's like, and they called them, these are studios of the future. They're the latest tech. You guys, you're going to have screens everywhere. You guys are going to just, it's going to be amazing what you can do. And not things don't always work the way they're supposed to. I'm just saying. First world problems. All right. Let's go from first world problems to something cool called the high five play of the day. We do this time, usually after I whine a little bit about equipment or God knows what, because it's the right thing to do. People earn a high five. We should stand up and go, yes, we recognize you. And we give you a high five. The high five play of the day is appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. And Shannon, since I spent 5 minutes whining about equipment, tell us about High Five.
High Five, a wonderful place for food, entertainment, and beverages in Austin. 2 Austin area locations, one at Lakeway, one in Central Austin on Anderson Lane. Yesterday, we discussed it on the show. It was National Pizza Day. And we talk about burgers a lot at High Five because they do burger specials on Mondays. But they do have some great pizzas as well. Chris, they actually have a cauliflower crust pizza. I had never had cauliflower crust pizza.
Ooh.
And so I can't speak for all cauliflower crust pizzas, but I can speak for High Fives, and it was delicious. Had you not told me it was cauliflower crust, I would not have known. So it's delicious and nutritious because cauliflower. What's up?
That's got to be lower in carbs, right? That's one of my problems with pizza. It's so much bread.
So you can eat more.
I gained 9 pounds just eating. Okay, there
That's
you go.
right.
Thank
Eat
you.
more. So
I'm looking for that cauliflower crust.
Great options over at High Five if you're wanting to be on the healthier side. Also, some really great salads. Their salad dressing specifically. Dressing can change the game for a salad. Or as I sometimes call it, rabbit food, because my salads are just pretty much lettuce and dressing and not much else. Get out to High Five, again, 2 Austin area locations for your enjoyment. Chris, today, you kind of alluded to it. I heard that nice little teaser going out to break, a golden high five opportunity today. As we know, the Winter Olympics are going on. So we're gonna talk about them as much as we can, because we do only get them every 4 years. And although it is kind of easy to forget that they are going on right now on the other side of the world, America is starting to step up. And by step up, I mean onto the highest portion of the medaling platform. And that is where you receive the gold medals. 2 medals were received yesterday. The bigger story, I think, in our mind here today, Chris, is Nathan Chen, who gets a high five for winning a gold medal in men's figure skating. He's 22 years old. He competed in the last Olympics 4 years ago. He'd already won 3 world championships. He's got 6 national titles. But when he competed 4 years ago, things didn't go as planned in his short-term programs and just his free skate. They were riddled with mistakes. It was not the performance that was expected of him or that he expected of himself. He goes out last night and he nails it, Chris. He actually shatters the record for short program history with his score of a 113.97. He wins gold for Team USA. So far, all the gold medal stories are redemption, and we love those stories. I think that's what a lot of America is about. And then on top of that, she became kind of a golden child of the last Winter Olympics, Chloe Kim, a snowboarder. I think she was 16 at the time. So she's still very young. She nailed it last night on the snowboard half pipe and won gold once again. So Team USA moving up in the medal count and adding some gold to it as well.
So, and this is interesting as well. So those were 2 huge gold medals, Shannon, as you document for Chloe Kim and for Nathan Chen. Not only are they both amazing athletes, and now they are gold medalists, they're both going to Ivy League schools. So they're both brainiacs.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Nathan Chen goes to Yale, and Chloe Kim goes to Princeton. So they're great athletes. They're on top of the world. They go to Beijing. They earn gold medals for Team USA. It's like, all right, now I'll head back to Yale. Okay, I'm Chloe. I'll head back to Princeton. My goodness gracious, life is good for Chloe Kim and Nathan Chen this morning, and probably in general. And you mentioned, though, and I want to underscore, Nathan Chen, 4 years ago, he was a champion going into those Olympics. I think he finished 5th. It was very disappointing for him personally and for Team USA. So this was really a big time kind of a redemption moment to win that gold. He landed all 5 of his quad jumps in the long program to win the gold last night in figure skating. So a big moment and kind of a come from behind, redeem 4 years ago moment for Nathan Chen. That was way cool as well.
You're mentioning their schools that they both attend, very prestigious, and I'm like thinking about their sports and like snowboarding. Every time there's a trick, right, there's always some degree that's added to it. And then you have figure skating, which is all about like the force and the jump and the height and the turn. Like their smarts in school and their athletic ability, I think, go hand in hand here. And that's probably why they are as successful as they are. Way to represent. Team USA moves up in the medal count. Number 3 right now overall with 10 total and 4 gold, 5 silver, and 1 bronze.
Very, very nice. And Shannon, speaking of Nathan Chen, and thank you, Dave OEHLER, I have Nathan Chen's daily diet. We talked about yesterday how the food in Beijing is not very good for a lot of athletes from around the world, especially a Russian athlete putting out photos of what the food is like. Nathan Chen, you talk about, his training, his intellect, going to Yale, obviously very, very smart. Nathan Chen says he trains 4 to 5 hours a day. He focuses his diet on protein, fruits, vegetables, and staying plenty hydrated. A lot of us forget to drink the water we should be drinking. So here's his breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Nathan Chen, for breakfast, a smoothie, an egg wrap, yogurt, and cornflakes. I wouldn't have thought of cornflakes as a breakfast of champions, but I guess. Then he snacks yogurt, dark chocolate almonds. I can get behind that. Fruit and Special K bars. I wonder if he has a deal with Special K. For lunch, Nathan Chen has a meat sandwich, yogurt, and fruit. And then finally for dinner, Nathan Chen, rice, pasta, or bread with fish, red meat, or chicken, plus a vegetable and sometimes soup. That sounds like a good, healthy, nutritious, filling meals for Nathan Chen.
Now, do we know, is he getting these while he's over there? Or is he having to shift things around? I gotta believe
he is. Because when that story broke about how bad some of these athletes have it eating the food that's being brought to them by the Beijing Olympic Organizing Committee, I did hear that Team USA brings in all of its own food. So I got to believe probably per athlete, like Nathan Chen and others, goes, all right, here's what I eat. Here's what I need. And I think, Team USA goes, all right, we'll make sure you get what you need, which to me, Shannon, sounds so basic for any country sending your athletes to the Olympics. Don't depend upon the host nation feeding your athletes the right food. I mean, food is fuel for all of us, but certainly for high performance athletes. I'm amazed, Russia, as big as they are in every Olympics, that they didn't do what we do, and that's bring our own food in for our own athletes.
Yeah, that's astounding. I just love the sometimes soup at the end of his daily meals. I like that.
If you want that Dak Prescott Campbell's Chunky Soup endorsement, Nathan, you're gonna have to eat more soup. I'm just saying. Probably a good idea. So we will probably go more in depth into this, Shannon, in the 7 o'clock hour. And obviously we're going to go heavy Super Bowl in addition to what's going to happen on the field and off the field. We got some of the fun prop bets that we'll get into. But you and I were talking off the air, Shannon, and we'll detail some of these games more specifically. But not only was it a tough night for the Houston Cougars Number 6 in the country coming in, losing to SMU last night in men's basketball. Tough night for Texas Tech at number 9. They lose to Oklahoma. But some big outcomes in ladies basketball last night, including the Texas Longhorns and a big loss for one of the big powerhouses in women's basketball last night.
Yeah, to rub the little bit of salt in the wounds of Texas Tech after the men's program loses one to Oklahoma. Texas Tech Lady Raiders not faring super well this season. They're 9-13 now, but they did lose to Texas last night, who is ranked number 16 in the country, 61-56. So they lose to both of the schools who will be exiting the Big 12 in the near future. And then probably the biggest story in women's sports this morning has to go to the UConn women's basketball program. That's the one everyone thinks of. I think as great as Baylor has been in recent years, UConn has just been the staple. And they lost to Villanova. And with that loss last night, that ended a 145-game conference win streak that went all the way back to 2013.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
How was that even
UConn.
Real to begin with?
Yeah, exactly. That's a heck of a, you look at college basketball, every so often you lay an egg, but not if you're UConn. You just destroy everybody. We'll talk more in depth about college and NBA basketball. We are 2 full days away from the Super Bowl. We'll talk a lot of Super Bowl as well. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. She's the salty one, Dave Ehler. I'm Chris. Till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Now I turn on the mic. Let's see. John Williams writing a novel. John, I've only got 5 minutes here. I don't know if I can read all that. The New York Knicks could jump in the mix. I'll bet you copied and pasted this, John, to acquire Dallas Mavericks target. You definitely copied and pasted this. Goran Dragic ahead of the deadline. The Dallas Mavericks long have been linked to veteran guard Goran Dragic, with many holding the expectation of his eventual arrival via contract buyout. With the Raptors being a competitive team, they're canvassing potential trade scenarios before the deadline. Many have reported the Raptors' willingness to attach a first round. Yada, yada, yada. John Williams, thank you for the New York Knicks Goran Dragic update. Eloy T. Arena joining us from the airport. The airport, easy for me to say this morning. Welcome. All right. Let me see here. I'm probably going to heat my coffee. I had some dreams. They were clouds in my coffee. And you're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. Don't you? Don't you now? Give you the little throwback Thursday pick. Carly Simon, who I believe is nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's not in yet. Her former husband, James Taylor, is. Carly Simon, mom of Ben Taylor, who put out some good albums and then just disappeared. All right. Okay. Coffee time. Wes Perkins. Speaking of redemption, how about Lindsay? Can't pronounce that last name. Won gold in the snowboard racing event after showboating and losing the gold 4 years ago. Hey. Maybe you learn a little something about showboating. And again, and thank goodness, that athlete's able to come back and get the gold. But that just goes to show, it is such a privilege to get there to the Olympics. and then by showboating, you're going to screw it up, which is all just ego and dig me. And that ain't right. Lucinda Sullivan, good morning. Lucinda with the Sunshine Coffee. And I got some coffee right there. Sunshine Coffee, bacon, and champagne. There you go. Those are 4 of the major food groups. Sunshine, coffee, bacon, and champagne. I think you could live, if you just lived on sunshine, coffee, bacon, and champagne, I believe you could live on those. What am I doing for Valentine's? I am going to Port Aransas. Only I'm going 3 days after Valentine's on the 17th. So my wife and I are deferring Valentine's celebrations. Because you don't have to celebrate Valentine's Day when the man tells you to. You can celebrate whenever you damn well please. Shouldn't every day be Valentine's Day, John Williams? Woo! 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 Thank you, Lucinda Sullivan. All right. Let's see. So let's see. Who do I see in here this morning? I'm going to go backwards. Lucinda Sullivan, John Williams, Marcus Valdespino, Wes Perkins, Eloy T. Arena listening at the airport. I think I said Luisa Alanis. Jason Paniagua on YouTube. Remember, if Facebook ever throws us off, and I'm trying to be more conscious of turning the feed off when there's music that they can throw us off for. But there's also a YouTube channel. It's Ticket 760's YouTube account. John Williams, good morning from DFW Airport. So we've got DFW and SAT in the house. So, you know, the abbreviation letters for Dallas, Fort Worth, obviously DFW, but for San Antonio, it's SAT. How come people don't say, hey, man, I'm going to SAT? I guess it brings back memories of the test, the college admissions test. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What do I know? Sam Tobias, Neil Cole. Neil Cole also joining us on the YouTube feed. Joe Garcia from Pueblo, Colorado with a big echo. Beth Settle. Good morning, Beth. Brian Mendoza, who has not joined us in a long time. Brian Mendoza was a one-time Houston Rockets troll who rehabilitated himself into a Houston Rockets fan. It's a long story. We'll tell it someday. I've told it before. Cody Webb, good morning. Pendejo is Tracy Bogert, who is regularly kicked off of social media sites. Hector Gomez, a great American. Hector Gomez is building a 60-foot Sonny Melendrez statue at the gates of Central Catholic High School, right next to a 30-foot Jesus statue, which would be great. Just both of them as you walk in. Daniel Sosa Jr. from Atlanta. Atlanta's in the house. Excited to see my Spurs play the Hawks tomorrow night. Go Spurs. Atlanta with Trae Young, they're a little surprising in that they're not really world beaters this year. They're sub 500, I do believe. Atlanta 26-28. Atlanta is 16-12 at home. Ooh, Atlanta's won 7 of their last 10, however. So they're kind of on a roll. With that loss last night, the Spurs have lost 7 of their last 10. Ouch. I don't care, man. In Pop, I trust. Ryan Pepe Brown, good morning, who contributed to our sports history yesterday. Welcome in. Here we go. All right, I'm going to mute for a moment because the Facebook people they will destroy your soul and eject this feed. That's right. Take that, Zuckerberg.
Now, Chris Duel.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sports, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, the heartbreak of psoriasis. We are all over it. Only 2 full days until the Super Bowl. I know it's Thursday, but Thursday's already begun. We are 7 hours and 7 minutes into this Thursday in the Central Time Zone in America. So the only full days we have to get through are Friday and Saturday, and Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, perhaps the holiest of all sports high holy days, and a day that the Dallas Cowboys have not participated in as a team since 1996. I'm just saying.
Dang it, Chris.
Can you imagine? As much as we love the Super Bowl, Shannon, if the Cowboys would just go, please, to the damn Super Bowl, please. I'm just saying.
I would throw up.
So
I'd be so excited I would throw up.
Oh, God, yeah.
Which is a thing I do.
I know. It would. Really? When you get excited, you throw up?
Always have. Yeah. First trips to Disney World. Shoot, even Six Flags. Big 12 championship games.
Just on the roller coaster?
No. Like the night before in the hotel. Like I just am so excited to wake up and get going that it just all becomes. There's your salty fact for the day.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I used to know a guy, and he's actually now a big national headline comedian who, at the River Center Comedy Club, where I used to work back in the late 90s, before he would go on stage, there's a green room where the comics hang out, and there's a bathroom in the green room. And almost every time he would go on stage, 7 minutes before going on, he would go throw up.
Yeah.
We'd be in the green room. It was like, ah!
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, that's Rick.
He's
blowing chunks.
It's pretty common, I feel. I mean, Mitch Morse, center for Buffalo Bills, good friend of ours. We'll have him on here shortly after the Super Bowl. Give him some time to get back into the off-season swing of life. But I don't know if he still does it because he's been in the league for a while now. And this isn't like me telling his secrets. He's told this story before. But when he was first with the Kansas City Chiefs, in the tunnel before games, he would throw up before NFL games. And I think he even did it in college. It's just the excitement mixed with maybe a little bit of anxiousness, nerves. So it's not just me, you guys. It's a thing. It's a thing.
Well, and yes. Well, and at least Mitch Morse, starting center of the Buffalo Bills, is not as gross as Mark Schlereth. Mark Schlereth, who in the middle of football games and they called him Stink. And there was a reason why his nickname was Stink in the National Football League. He didn't wait. He didn't wait till halftime. He didn't wait till the end of the football game. If he had to go, he just went gross. Right there in his football. I can't. Yeah,
that's not a thing.
I can't even. No.
Yeah, but didn't he play in Denver?
Denver and Washington. I forget which was. I think Denver first, and then Washington, and now he's a commentator.
And you have to remember that when you do that, it kind of warms you up too. So, and those are cold places. So
I still can't.
Anything to keep warm, I guess you have to do.
Don't give them excuses.
I can't even.
Gross.
No. But I would guess
I am kind of cold in here right now. I'm just saying.
He was an offensive lineman, very offensive, I would think. I wonder if that gives you an advantage if you're the guy across the line from you is like, oh, I don't even want to touch this guy much. I wonder if that made him better as an offensive lineman because that defender was just avoiding him at all costs, and maybe you get into the other guy's head. It's like, my God, this guy stinks. I'm trying to focus on technique and getting past this guy and getting to the quarterback and making the tackle. And all I can think about is this stench at the line of scrimmage. I don't know, man.
And I guess all tackles need to be made above the waist.
I would think so. Yeah. Luckily he wasn't a ball carrier. All right. I don't know how we probably spent too much time thinking about that. Shannon, one of the, a number of controversies involving the National Football League. Commissioner Roger Goodell yesterday spoke to the media. He got some tough questions from the media. I heard some audio and saw video. One question, an African-American gentleman who works for NFL Media, who's actually a guy who writes stories and puts out stories like at NFL.com. And he's asked Commissioner Roger Goodell, hey, man, you've been commissioner for years now. Do you take any personal responsibility? And he listed all of the teams, and the Dallas Cowboys are one of them, who have never had an African-American head coach. And he mentioned the fact that, well, you've got 3 now, but, until this latest lawsuit that was filed by Brian Flores, you only had 1. And I think general managers are at 7, but he said, 4 of those are in the last year and a half. And, Roger Goodell said, this has been the number one topic of conversation among our leadership group for many, many years now. That's great. You guys are talking about it, but you don't have a solution. Over 70% of players in the National Football League are African American, yet, it's ownership, no representation, coaches, very, very little, and coordinators a little more, and certainly team executives very, very little, and nowhere near the percentage of players. You would think you would think that the NFL would have gotten to a level, and I know the Rooney Rule has been around for a long time, and apparently, clearly, the Rooney Rule does not work well or does not work at all. But you would think that by 2022, the NFL would have found a way to solve this. And you would have thought, Shannon, by just natural progression, all of these decades, having such a huge number of African-American players, and so often players, after they play, become coaches, and coaches ultimately become head coaches, you would have just thought we wouldn't be here where we are right now, and it's still such a big deal in 2022.
Goodell's comment of, well, we've been talking about it for years. I mean, that to me just screams, well, actions speak louder than words, sir. And
Boom.
You talking about it and doing nothing. Who cares? Show me, don't tell me. That was an interesting. And the timing of it all, obviously, with the current ongoings, and then you throw in some Dan Snyder stuff in there, and those recent accusations, and it's he gets paid a lot of money, and at times it's like, why should you get all that money? And then there's days like yesterday where it's like, oh yeah, that's why he gets paid a lot of money, because it can't be easy.
He takes the flack for the owners, and obviously as commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell is employed by the owners, and the owners, for the most part, is like an old boys club. It's a billionaire boys club for the most part, and it's a white billionaire boys club for the most part. And Shannon, you bring up Daniel Snyder, the owner of the now Washington Commanders, and another allegation within the last few days, a woman testifying before Congress, mentioning, Daniel Snyder making unwanted sexual advances toward her as she told the story at a public event. He's like putting his hand on her thigh and saying things to her. And even a close staffer to Daniel Snyder said, Dan, stop it. Don't do this. This is not a good look. Stop it. That's her describing what went on. So originally Daniel Snyder then goes, okay, A, this never happened. B, I will, we'll have an investigation. I'll see to it that this is investigated. Yeah, dude, you want to investigate yourself. So now part of what Roger Goodell said yesterday, no, it won't be the Washington Commanders investigating this allegation. It will be the NFL. But Shannon, already the NFL investigated the Washington football team on a host of similar allegations before. They did kind of say we found some stuff. You then saw Daniel Snyder back away from a leadership position, although he's the owner. His wife now takes a bigger role in the day-to-day operations of that football franchise. And here's the rub, Shannon. If they were going to blow him out as owner, as I think they should, I don't think he's good for the league on so many levels. Now you've got the Miami owner, who Brian Flores is accusing of offering him whatever $10,000 or $100,000 per game to tank those games and lose those games, which totally affects the integrity of the product of football games. But in both of those cases, for either one of those to be removed, part of the league rules are you need 75% of the vote of all of the NFL owners to remove an owner. And part of what these owners clearly are concerned about is, what if it ever happens to me? What if somebody finds out that I've done some things, or I have some skeletons in my closet? So they close ranks, and Daniel Snyder continues to be an owner. And in Miami, there's probably not going to be an issue there as well moving forward. So the beat goes on in the National Football League.
Yeah. And look at the timing, right? This took place yesterday, and it's Super Bowl week, right? We're gonna have the Super Bowl on Sunday, so I'm not saying people will forget, but I don't think it'll be the top of their headlines and at top of mind moving forward, because it'll all be about Super Bowl, and then it'll be about, okay, what happens now with players, and then we've got the draft, right? So the NFL very much keeping time. And then the Washington thing, I mean, that just seems like it's never going to go away. It's the same conversation over and every few months. It's something else. Oh, we'll have an investigation. You know, we're what 8 months out, 7 months out from the book dropping from Robert Griffin III, saying he's it's a tell-all.
Yeah.
It's going to be explosive. It's going to have all of the stories from his time in Washington. So I just don't know what it's going to take at this point to what Dan Snyder may have over other owners that would maybe put them in a bad situation as to why they're not voting against him to get him out of the league with everything that's going on. But a lot of interesting notes yesterday, but they did try to like make it exciting in some ways, and that they did announce, yes, the NFL will be going to Germany for the next 4 years. So there will be one game, and then they're going to go back to Mexico in 2022. And I don't know how I feel about those games, Chris, because when it's your team, it's like, okay, it's cool, but it also takes away from a potential home game for fans. It also adjusts time schedules and I don't know. And then, you know, if you go over there and you lose, you feel like you got to blame the trip itself. But it is exciting that the NFL is expanding in that way. I can't lie about that.
Well, and there's always been the talk, Shannon, and even until recently, when there seems to be a bit of a resurgence and more hope with Trevor Lawrence now, the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Even Jacksonville was talked about as a team maybe to move to London. Now, obviously, if the NFL has a presence in London, the logistics of teams flying across the Atlantic Ocean to play each other during a regular season is absolutely crazy. You know, I always say, you know, more football is good football. But in a moment, we'll do the contest here. I want to get your thoughts on, would you like to see an NFL team in London or in Mexico City? And, you know, if they're going to start playing in Germany now, Berlin, Germany, is that possible 10 years from now or whenever? We'll talk about that in a moment. But right now, it is coming up on 7:20. We start this every morning at 7:20. We do this on the 20s all day long. Somebody wins $1,000 every hour. It's not like once per day. Every hour, somebody wins $1,000. It could be you right now. Here comes the keyword.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Hope. That's hope. Enter it on our station website now.
I'm glad that guy enunciated hope. Because at first I thought the keyword is ho. I was like, whoa! No, it's hope. There's some word, Shannon, as you know, in radio, you really need to enunciate. So there's that. We recommend you take it to both websites. Double your chances to get that $1,000 right now. AM1300thezone.com and ticket760.com. Keyword hope. Put it in there. You're in the running. You go to those websites. It'll be very obvious how you enter that keyword. All right, Shannon, obviously the NFL knows. You know, you used to have that World League of American Football in the spring. There was a team in Germany, in Berlin. There was the London Monarchs. There was a Barcelona team. So as you mentioned, multiple games will be played in Germany in the next few years. Going back to Mexico, you know, Mexico seems, supposedly there's a ton of fans in Mexico who especially love the Dallas Cowboys. Could Mexico City support a team in the NFL? And there's been this talk about London for many, many years, someday getting an NFL franchise. Shannon, do you see that ever happening? And B, would you like to see that happen?
I think a Mexico makes more sense logistically because a lot of teams aren't fans of the travel, right? And that's always been okay. If you put a team over there, what division, who's going to have to travel each year, what other teams are you going to schedule to travel with the remaining rotating schedule? So logistically, I like Mexico. I don't know much about as far as American football, how big that country is on it compared to, a London or even a Germany. But like we always say, more football is good football. And as long as adding a team and having other teams kind of crisscross over the oceans, if we still have the good product on the field, I'm okay with it. I'm more than okay with it.
Yeah. And it is so weird. Here we were just a few minutes ago, Shannon, talking about things that are wrong with the NFL. Certainly representation in head coaching ranks, in executive ranks, and in ownership ranks among people of color, among African Americans. That's a problem. Daniel Snyder, Washington Redskins, that's a problem. Yet, as I say this, and as we discuss it, Shannon, the NFL is a hugely profitable product. We talk about the Cowboys at, I think, $7 billion-ish right now, the most valuable franchise on the planet. Well, that is the Cowboys, and they are number one in the NFL. But overall, if you own any team in the NFL, it is a license to print money. You're making a ton of money. The league makes a ton of money. You talked about why Roger Goodell makes all the money he makes. He oversees the most profitable league in the world. So clearly, Germany would like to get some of that action. Great Britain, London, Mexico would like to get some of that action. So I think if the NFL could find a way to maintain the product, and like you brought this up, if it's my team, if it's the Cowboys in the middle of a season having to go to London or go to Germany because you go across the Atlantic, Mexico, not such an issue at all. I mean, Mexico to Dallas is closer, than going to New York to play the Giants. But it is fascinating. And again, the NFL is all about the money. If those owners believe there's a market and a lot of money to be made by ultimately putting a franchise in London or in Berlin or in Mexico City, they're going to do it because they see money coming their way.
Yeah. Same reason why we still get the Pro Bowl and there hasn't been massive adjustments, even though there's always the complaints of this is boring, because 7 million people still tune into that. And again, it prints money. So if it's going to print money and print money continuously, I mean, look now, we had an extra game this season. The Super Bowl is now a week later than what we're used to, because it's all about that money. And that is the one thing that the NFL has certainly exceeded at above anything else, is how they can make more money.
And we just keep coming back. And the weirdest thing, and we mentioned this a few seconds ago, here's another Super Bowl, Super Bowl 56, and the Dallas Cowboys. Was it Super Bowl 30 when they played Pittsburgh? It has been so long since the Cowboys have gone to the Super Bowl. I do know it was 1996 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we just, as Cowboys fans, we just keep coming back. And I mean, I'm one of you. I get my hopes up every year. It's like, oh man, okay, this is the year. And they certainly had us, the way that defense was playing this year and Dak Prescott coming back and the team relatively healthy, we thought this was the year. And yet you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who 2 years ago were the worst team in the NFL at 2-14. They're in the Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys are not. And yet, we'll talk a lot of Cowboys a lot of times. And Jerry Jones knows this. He'll, like he did, saying what he was saying about his assistant coaches this week. He knows he'll get into the news cycle and make Cowboys news, even though the biggest story should be the Super Bowl, the Bengals and the Rams. But again, not just because we're in Texas, across the country, if there's Cowboys news of any kind, people across the country are going to talk about the Cowboys.
They want it. They need it. They love them some Jerry. I mean, like Jerry, he's getting pubbed this week because he was part of the group that helped to make SoFi Stadium, to build the stadium that is now hosting the Super Bowl, and he is making cash because of it.
Wow.
It's good, Jerry Jones.
It's good to be Jerry Jones, man. But Jerry, you got to deliver a Super Bowl, man. You just got to. It's been too long. And he hungers for it. And that's the weirdest thing. He's such a brilliant businessman that he has not found a way since 1996 to get back to the Super Bowl and to be able to demonstrate that he can do it without the fingerprints of Jimmy Johnson. Because that last Super Bowl win, even though Barry Switzer was the head coach, it was Jimmy's players, and it still had Jimmy's fingerprints all over it. Quick break coming up. Shannon's salty shakedown, always spectacular. We've got this day in sports history, some sports birthdays, including a Dallas Cowboy who has a few rings from back when the Cowboys used to hang out at the Super Bowl. We'll tell you who's having a Dallas Cowboys sports birthday today. Your phone calls along the way, 800-707-9760. Chance to win $1,000 again at 8:20. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. We'll even talk Super Bowl with Andy coming up as well. He'll join us after 8:30. Dave OEHLER is your Soundscape stylist. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, you wonder why there hasn't been more push for Canada. And you wonder, with the Canadian Football League, and I know that's a completely different brand of football with the 3 downs and the 110-yard field and all that. Once you had an NFL franchise in that country, what does that do to the CFL? You just have to wonder, because it's such a bigger brand of football. It's like having a mom and pop store, and then all of a sudden Walmart comes in, or Amazon comes in and just changes everything because it's so much more convenient. I'm an Amazon freak. If I can buy something on Amazon, it's like I just don't have the time or the desire to go into a store when I can have it delivered to my door sometimes same day, but most of the time the next day. And then you add in the pandemic. Oh my God. I really don't want to go anywhere in public with other human beings. John Williams, won't Joe Fowler be jealous about the Sonny Melendrez statue? Did Joe Fowler go to Central Catholic? It's a good question. I guess you're saying he did, John Williams. There is young Andy Everett, young Shannon Salty Sweeney. She's still young in her case. Young Dave OEHLER, young Chris Duel, young Joe Burrow, relatively young Matthew Stafford, and Nathan Chen, young 22-year-old Nathan Chen. A lot of youth in that photo. Okay, have I killed all my coffee? I may have. I may have guzzled all my coffee. My big coffee strata tanker. Yep, I'm out of coffee. All right, I will get some ice for my iced tea. Ice, baby. Coming up, Shannon's salty shakedown. See, I got a few comments here that I missed. Dave OEHLER in the house. Dave OEHLER. You can tell that pic was taken before I was in radio because no gray hair. Of course, he is talking about that. Yeah, he's very youthful. Ah, we're back. I got ice. Welcome back. Little Beatles for you. Submitted for your approval by Mr. Dave OEHLER. I am wearing my Beatles t-shirt in honor of Throwback Thursday. Throwing it back to the Beatles. I'm a Beatles freak. The big Get Back documentary that came out last November, apparently IMAX, and I haven't seen it yet, but apparently in IMAX theaters. And in fact, it was going to be on the 30th of January because the Beatles rooftop concert was on January 30th, 1969. But I think it's February 14th-ish now. I'll have to check it. But in IMAX theaters, on the big IMAX screen, the big Beatles, they're just going to use the rooftop concert and just see that on the big screen. And Shannon and Dave, A, I would love to do that, but B, I am still, call me kooky, being in an auditorium for 2 hours or 90 minutes with a lot of other people breathing with or without masks. I'm still a little COVID concerned. So I don't know if my love for the Beatles will get me into an IMAX theater. I'd love to see it. If I could just go in there alone, hey man, can you get everybody to leave so I could just watch it alone? Because I don't dig COVID, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
Chris, I've been to like 4 or 5 concerts since everything opened back up, and I haven't had any problems. I think you can handle a movie theater.
All right, man. Gosh, I definitely wear them. Maybe I'll get like a gas mask, actually, just a full-fledged, or a hazmat suit of some kind.
Well, you can still wear a mask in there.
True.
They're not going to make you take it off.
True, but the other people who aren't wearing the masks, who are breathing their germs and viruses into the air, I don't know that I want to breathe that in, Dave OEHLER.
Well, I was at a concert last week, 2 weeks ago now, and I had no problems.
Okay, so there you have it. Nothing to worry about because Dave OEHLER goes to concerts.
If I didn't get COVID from that concert, I'm never getting it.
There, okay, something to think about. Shannon, should I be concerned going into an IMAX theater to watch the Beatles Get Back rooftop concert the way I really want to see it on a huge, big screen TV?
I haven't been to a lot of movies since the theaters reopened, but I have been to some, and that's I think you'll be okay.
I have not been to one since the thing broke in 2020. And we're coming up, it was March something, right? March 22nd or March 20th. So we're coming up on the 2-year mark when it all, the NBA shut down that night and it all shut down. So, all right, you two vote yes. I will take it under advisement.
And Chris, if we can work it out, I'll even go with you.
Ooh, and that's a Beatles song right there too. We can work it out.
We can work it out. We'll go to Dollar Tree and load up on food, candy and snacks, so we don't have to pay them there and sneak them all in. And
yes,
and we'll go for it.
If you're into it, because my wife supports me and she supports my Beatles habit. She sat through the Get Back documentary with me, which was it was 3 nights, but each was over 2 hours. So you add it all up, it's probably over 7 hours. And if you weren't a Beatles freak, I know it could get monotonous, but it wasn't for me. I was in heaven. So I may need you as my companion too, because my wife might say, look, I've just done this Beatles thing with you I took her to Vegas, or she took me and vice versa to Vegas. They've got the Beatles Love Cirque du Soleil show at the Mirage. We've gone multiple times. We don't even gamble. We just go to see the shows and went to see the Beatles Cirque du Soleil. So, I mean, it's going to be hard for me not to go, Dave. And since you're the good luck, no COVID charm in concert venues, Maybe that's it. It's like, man, if I go with Dave OEHLER, and if I breathe the air Dave OEHLER breathes, I'm going to be safe.
The germs just can't survive near me. That's why.
Like 4 days later.
There's so many chemicals in my body over the last 50 years that it just kills anything that comes near it.
You and I will be in the hospital like 4 days later.
That's usually the way it goes.
From the IMAX.
I mean, working in radio, though, like that we've done a lot of gross things that other people in other industries don't have to deal with. I mean, there's a bit of an immunity that's built up.
You may be right. You may be right. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. And let's get it going right now. How about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? On this day in 1961, the American Football League's LA Chargers moved to San Diego and became the San Diego Chargers. Some people don't remember the LA Chargers were in LA before they were in San Diego. Now they're back in LA, all those gazillions of years later. On this day in 1996, the IBM computer Deep Blue became the first computer to win a game of chess against the reigning human chess champion, who was Garry Kasparov. Chess, not exactly sports, but hey, work with me. Finally, on this day in 2019, it was opening day of the Alliance of American Football. The Orlando Apollos beat the Atlanta Legends 40-6 in Orlando. More football is good football. Just a day later, the San Antonio Commanders played football. I like those Commanders better than the Washington Commanders. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1950, one of the greatest American swimmers ever, won a then record 7 gold medals in the 1972 Summer Olympics. Mark Spitz. When he speaks, he kind of spits. Mark Spitz, born in Modesto, California. Born on this day in 1955, the Shark Australian golfer Greg Norman, British Open champion in 86 and 93. Greg Norman, born on this day in 1955. Born on this day in 1966. Speaking of the San Antonio Commanders, he was their general manager. Dallas Cowboys legendary fullback Daryl Moose Johnston, born on this day in 1966 in Youngstown, New York. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, without further ado, here it is, your Throwback Thursday Salty Shakedown.
Well, on this Throwback Thursday, Chris, we're going to throw it all the way back to Monday. It seems like forever ago, I know. But on that big Monday night, Texas hosted Kansas Jayhawks. As every time I say Kansas now, I want to say Kansas City because we talk so much Patrick Mahomes and his annoying little brother. But the Kansas Jayhawks were in town. Texas went on to defeat them. Kansas at the time ranked number 8 in the country. After the fact, students stormed the courts. All part, I would say, because of Chris Beard, right? Chris Beard is really into gathering the students and getting them as involved as they can. And so what's a better way to be involved than going down on the court to celebrate after a big victory? However, like we've seen a lot throughout the college football season, plenty of SEC teams being fined throughout the year whenever they stormed the field because it's considered dangerous, in a way that they attempt to get schools to do better about policing those boundaries is to inquire fines and make those fines bigger and bigger for every violation. Well, Texas had their first violation this season on the Texas basketball court on Monday night when Texas stormed the court following that win, and they have since been fined $25,000 by the Big 12. Not only that, but the Big 12, a lot of people are thinking that they're hating on them because they're leaving. They're going to try and get as much money out of Texas as they can. So they also released this statement saying, our host institutions have a duty to ensure an environment that provides the visiting team and game officials a safe exit from the court. In this instance, execution of the university's court storming plan did not adequately provide the protections necessary to safeguard visiting team personnel. Chris, I don't think anyone got hurt here, so I think the statement is a little much. I do understand the fine. I'm not going to complain about that because we've seen it happen with other schools, but a part of me still feels like this is the Big 12 saying, we know you're leaving. Mm-hmm. We're not happy about it. The second a footstep that wasn't supposed to be on the court put its foot on the court, that was going to be a fine. It didn't matter how many people eventually flooded the court anyway. That's $25K right there. What about you, Chris?
I'm kind of pro storming the court or storming the field if it's a big moment. I mean, don't do it all the time. It's like some of these NBA teams that in the playoffs, they win a game and confetti drops. You know, the Spurs used to do confetti only when you won a championship. But so, I mean, don't do it all the time, and don't hurt anybody on the opposing team or any ref. No. So I think this is kind of petty in a bad way. Tom Petty rocks, but this is the other kind of petty. So come on, Big 12, relax. But it is something to watch moving forward, seeing if the Big 12 continues to be more and more punitive against Texas and Oklahoma because it's, bent that they're moving on to the SEC.
I'm sure Texas thought, okay, here's the quarter you asked for, because that's nothing to us. I mean, we are the biggest money-making machine in the world in college athletics, so they're fine with it. I think they'll be okay. Moving on, we can't get enough of Joe Burrow, and he just seems to get better and better, especially because he does a lot of work in silence. He even had a message for the kids as part of his Super Bowl press conferences earlier in the week. You know, you don't need to put everything you do on social media. You don't need to let everyone know how hard you're working. Just do the work, and the rewards will come. Well, in something that he didn't initially expect to get out into the world, get out into the media, he gave 2 tickets to his former high school quarterbacks coach to provide tickets to him and his wife to fly them out to the Super Bowl to enjoy that for Joe and to see him play. The only reason we have this story, Chris, is because the coach, the NFL, all of the outlets, they love to do this whenever they have someone they can latch onto. They go and they find everyone that they've ever come across with, especially coaches, to interview them and to get the details and what they were like when they were younger. And did you ever see that this would be their future? So this coach was being interviewed, and in the middle of the interview, he got a call from Joe. And Joe said, "Hey, I know it's last minute, but I want to see if you and your wife want to come out to LA for the Super Bowl." He said, "I think we can make that work." But he did this behind the scenes. It just so happened that the coach was being interviewed at the time of Joe Burrow's call. Chris, I love this because there are a lot of athletes who do promote, and it's fine because it is a great promotional opportunity, and it's feel-good stories. But for him to do stuff like this behind the scenes, just to take care of the people that took care of him growing up, I love this. I love Joe Burrow even more. It just makes me want to root for the Bengals that much harder come Sunday.
Shannon, I do too, and I didn't know this story until you just told us with the Salty Shakedown. As you know, I am on the Joe Burrow love train, and I love him even more. The more we learn about Joe Burrow, and again, I love that this was a behind-the-scenes thing. He didn't try to do it and make a, dig me for being such a good guy. He thought it was behind the scenes, although there was a camera when he made the phone call on the other end of it. Just very cool. And it's the right thing to do. How cool for that coach. Way to go, Joe Burrow.
Keeping it with the Super Bowl, as we know, it's going to be a huge halftime performance. Dr. Dre, oh gosh, I'm missing the female artist now. Her name just slipped me, but Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, and Eminem. And Chris, I don't know how much Eminem you know. Do we have a little Eminem, Dave, that we can play here?
His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm.
Recognize this, Chris?
I do recognize this.
Keyword there in this one.
By the way, Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige. There you go. Yes, and the keyword there, Mom's Spaghetti. Eminem opened a Detroit restaurant with that title, Mom's Spaghetti, to Detroit, where he hails from. It's been a huge success. He is bringing that to LA. There is a pop-up going on. You can also get it delivered via Postmates if you're in the area and are wanting to try some of Eminem's Mom's Spaghetti. It's very popular. Options limited, but do include the spaghetti. You can also get meatball spaghetti or vegan meatball spaghetti, and then also a sketty sandwich, which is the spaghetti in between 2 giant pieces of buttery Texas toast. I don't know about that one. I don't know about a noodle sandwich, but I do love me some good spaghetti. Also, there was news about the Super Bowl performance because a lot of people, they want to know what it's going to look like ahead of time. They want to know if there's going to be any secret performers that are going to be joining them on stage. They want to know if they're going to use the whole floor of the field or if they're just going to be in one singular spot. They want to know what songs are going to be performed. There's also betting that goes on. Some of the prop bets often have to do with the halftime show, so it's always great to get inside information. So what they're doing, kind of the opposite of what the Bengals did a few weeks ago, where the Bengals were at practice and they were blaring music, and so much music that they had security guards outside the stadium saying, "We're so sorry." They're trying to prepare for Kansas City and how loud it's going to be. Well, if you're anywhere near SoFi over the last couple of days, they've been blaring rock music outside of the stadium so that you cannot hear the halftime performance that is being rehearsed inside the stadium. And they are not apologizing for it at all. I think a lot of people are very excited for all of this to take place come Sunday, especially this performance. One, are you into Eminem and his mom's spaghetti? Do you like it? Do you like the play? I mean, the Oscar-winning song, Grammy-winning song. I think it was only natural that we got to this point in his career that he would open up a spaghetti stand. And how excited are you for this halftime show?
It looks like a lot of fun. I'm not a huge Eminem fan. I mean, I like him. I don't dislike him. Of that group that's going to be in the Super Bowl, Snoop Dogg. I love Snoop. How do you not love Snoop Dogg? Just who he is. He's just such a character and so funny. But Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar. And one of the things you bring up, Shannon, which I think will be fascinating, it is L.A. So I would not be surprised if special guests show up on that stage. Then again, you wonder that there's already so many big headliners. Do they want to bring other big names? It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, last year, the weekend did not involve any other artists. The year before, obviously, with it being Shakira and J-Lo, they brought out some people. And then I believe when Maroon 5 did theirs, all of those artists were very poorly kept secrets. So we'll just have to wait and see, because who knows? I mean, all of those artists have such great catalogs and such great features on their own songs and other songs that who knows? I think it's just going to be one big party. I'm greatly looking forward to it, as well as the game. But there it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Spectacular Salty Shakedown as always. And I learned so many things that I did not know. The blaring of the rock music outside SoFi Stadium, so people can't figure out, what songs are going to be played. I mean, if you just think about rehearsals, Shannon, and so many people that are involved in those rehearsals, and they often, they get all those extras to show up and be the crowd out there. And we talked about some will be paid, some will not, but it would seem to me so easy for someone to sneak a phone in there and, shoot video of what the show is and then leak that onto the internet, which would then become a big, big coveted thing to watch on the internet. So people could have a preview of what that Super Bowl halftime show is going to be.
Yeah.
To contain that and not let it get out, what the songs are going to be it's fascinating that they're able to do that, and it remains to be seen. Will they be able to do that between now and Sunday?
Well, and everyone knows I'm a huge JT fan, and he performed the Super Bowl just a few years ago. And I believe because he himself had some behind the scenes, but it didn't actually show you anything. But I think they actually take the phones of everyone before they go to the rehearsal itself. And then I remember there was a prop bet, and it was, what's the first song going to be? And if you had guessed it right, which I did, I didn't put any money on it. It was like you put $100 down, you would have won 700. So those kind of things, just like we're talking about the Super Bowl and making sure people, things aren't being rigged. The Gatorade colors yesterday, I think they try to keep the Super Bowl halftime performance just as tight-lipped.
We will talk more Super Bowl as God intended. Only 2 full days between where we are at this moment and Super Bowl 56. We'll talk more NBA. The trade deadline is today at 2:00. So we'll get into that. Lots of major outcomes in men's and women's college basketball yesterday. We are all over it. Speaking of college basketball, the voice of UTSA athletics, Mr. Andy Everett, going to join us. IUPUI played UTSA earlier. Would Andy try out for IUPUI if he were a student? Big 8 o'clock hour coming up on the Chris Duel Show. Let me see what you got here, Jesse. Good morning. Chris, do what you think is best for you. You care for others and yourself, which is harder with people getting tired of this blank. COVID, I proudly wear my mask. So do I, Jesse. A lot of people have illnesses, like my wife, who can have drastic results if they contract COVID, storming the court against the rules. And are they all wearing masks? Yeah, Jesse, I know there's this big, and in fact, there were press conferences yesterday. A lot of states and municipalities are lifting mask mandates, but the CDC, the guidelines, they still say you should wear masks, especially indoors where there's other people. And also, if there's multiple people outdoors, you should as well. And even though the numbers are beginning to recede, you still look at the level of people contracting COVID and people still being hospitalized, and sadly, some people still dying of it. It's still scary, and I still take it seriously. And I walked into a CVS yesterday, and I'm getting out of my car. And I get out of my car, and first thing I do, I put on my mask. And as I'm putting on my mask, I see a woman like in a car on her phone looking at me and shaking her head as I put my mask on. And I was wondering, all right, are you shaking your head because you think I'm an idiot for putting on a mask in public? Or she was on the phone. Was she having a conversation with someone and shaking her head to whatever the point was being made? It is so weird. You know, you're doing something that you believe promotes public safety and public health, not just for you, but for others. And the purpose of a mask is more so to protect other people than it is to protect you, as science and medicine tells us. So I find it fascinating that, some people are scorning others publicly if they wear a mask. It's crazy. It's crazy. These kids these days. Okay, let's see here. I need to. Yeah, Marcus, I do watch Bill Maher's real time. I catch pretty much every episode, so I did see that. Yeah, he has lately been quite anti-mask and quite critical of Democrats. So it doesn't mean I agree with him. Jason Paniagua, any prop bets on the halftime show? If a curse word will be broadcast over the air, that is a great one, Jason, with all of the rap. In fact, I've got somewhere here, I've got some prop bets. See if I can find those. Where'd I put my prop bets? All right. Oh! Okay. Dave Ehler puts his headphones on. That's always a sign that we are close. I plug in my phone as my battery wanes. Oh! Hello, Dean Stone. Didn't the Who play at one point, Dean? Long time ago. We are 2 full days away from the Super Bowl. Welcome in. It's the Duel show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, 8 o'clock hour. Mr. Dave OEHLER in his St. Louis Blues 50th anniversary long sleeve royal blue, not royal blue, but what color blue? St. Louis blue.
St. Louis
T-shirt.
blue, yeah. That's
St.
it.
Louis
I like
blue,
that.
baby.
St. Louis blue.
There you go. Why were they named the St. Louis blue? What is significant? What is indigenous to St. Louis and the color blue? Any idea?
That's the blues as in the music.
Ooh.
That's why there's the blue note. See, there it
I
is. right
see
there.
it.
The blue. That's called the blue note.
Okay.
And W.C. Handy had a song, St. Louis Blues.
Nice. Wow. Oh, so is St. Louis known as the birthplace of the blues?
I wouldn't say it's the birthplace, but there is a style of blues called St. Louis blues,
Okay.
as opposed to like the Chicago blues style,
Very cool.
Mississippi Delta blues style.
Yes, there's that. So all right, very good. See, now I never, and again, I've seen that logo forever, and we've got another photo of you in a jersey with that logo, which is a musical note. And I'm such a knucklehead, I never have said, "Oh, that's music." I just thought it's like the Cincinnati Reds, the Red Stockings originally.
They're called everybody says the St. Louis blue. No, it's not a color. It's the St. Louis blues.
Yeah, exactly.
Plural.
Very, very, very interesting. All right, coming up a little bit later this hour, just after 8:30, we will talk all things sports and college sports with the voice of UTSA athletics, Andy Everett. Andy is also our golf guru, so golf might come up with Andy. We'll see what's the latest big deal on the PGA Tour, and how can we not talk Super Bowl with Andy Everett. We're talking a lot of Super Bowl today and then tomorrow. Oh, and Dave OEHLER, you are not here tomorrow. So before you leave, in fact, we should probably do it this segment. Or Shannon, should we do it now? We need Dave OEHLER to go on the record and pick a Super Bowl. Do you want to have him do it now, or do you want to wait a little bit and let him think about it?
I'll let him decide if he wants to do it like right this second or at the end of this segment.
I can do it right now.
All right, Dave OEHLER.
Thinking it over.
To recap, and looking at and we got to get Andy's Super Bowl pick as well. But I do believe, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Bill Schoening picked the Cincinnati Bengals to win the Super Bowl. James Allen, who's going to the Super Bowl from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, picked the Los Angeles Rams to win the Super Bowl. I did write down the final scores. I do want a final score just in case any of us nails it. That'll be huge bragging rights. Or if somebody's way off, then we can mock that person on Monday morning. All right, Dave OEHLER, you know that I am on and I think Shannon now is as well, on the Joe Burrow love train, even though Shannon and I won't make our Super Bowl picks until tomorrow. You won't be with us tomorrow, but you'll be back on Monday to face the music. Who are you picking in the Super Bowl to win, and what will the final score be?
All right, I've been picking against the Bengals all season. And so that tells you what my score is against the Bengals. And I want the Bengals to win, but I'm sticking with the Rams. Rams 27, Bengals 24.
27-24 Rams.
And maybe it's a little like reverse psychology.
Yeah.
I want the Bengals to win. And I've been picking against them all season. So if I pick for them, they'll probably end up losing.
So that could be a good, and
So
I do
I'm
that
going
with my
Rams.
picks a lot. I go reverse psychology a lot, hoping, that the gods will smite me for making that pick. And what I really want is the other team to win. So Dave OEHLER, he is down for Rams 27, Bengals 24. And once again, and most people are picking a close Super Bowl. Some theorize that if that Ram pass rush, Aaron Donald and company, can just wreak havoc on Joe Burrow, it could be a blowout in favor of the Rams. Shannon, I was listening to Colin Cowherd yesterday, who follows us midday after the Dan Patrick Show, obviously a national show coming out of L.A., Colin Cowherd. He went down a number of reasons why he's convinced one way or another it will be a close Super Bowl. And I think one of the recent lines was Rams by 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently a lot of people at that 4.5 number are going Bengals because they think it'll be a little tighter than 4.5.
Well, and also interesting because now with Dave's pick, that's those are together. That's a pretty high number. The over under right now is 48.5. And so for everyone we've gotten scores from has gone with the over. I think maybe the only one that wasn't was Madden thus far. So I don't know. I'm starting to be like, should I go against the grain and go with a lower number and maybe take the under?
it might be a good idea. And the line I'm looking at now is 3.5. Rams by 3.5 currently, and I do see the over/under the U side at 48.5. So, speaking of bets, and those are the two big ones. Who's going to win and by how many? Rams by 3.5 is the betting line. Over/under 48.5. Any prop bets, Shannon? Jason Paniagua on our live video feed came up with a great prop bet. He says, how about a prop bet on if there is a curse word from the halftime show that gets accidentally broadcast on the air? You would think with all of these rappers, I think that's a great bet that, again, though, you would think also they're going to rehearse this show.
Right.
So, but then again, just like, I remember Jim Morrison and the Doors were not supposed to talk about, getting high. They were supposed to change the lyrics on the Ed Sullivan show because it was too suggestive for drug use. You got to wonder if when they rehearse, some of these rappers like Snoop Dogg or Eminem keep it clean. And then when it's live, they say, hey, man, this is my brand. This is who I am. I'm going to let it rip.
Yeah, well, it like brings me back. I think MIA, when she performed with Madonna, flipped the birds to the camera very much on purpose. And they were like, you can't do that. You would hope that I don't know that they're going to be doing a lot of choreography like the artists themselves, right? So you would hope that with the rehearsals, that's really part of their rehearsal is perform. And they've, done these songs on television before where they've had to work around them. I don't know. That's a good one. I mean, he says halftime, which I get considering the expletive uses that are in a lot of these other songs, but I'm almost thinking it would occur more in the game, right? With a hot ref mic and a player who's upset at a particular play. Because I feel like we do get those more frequently these days. That's where I tend to hear them on and those are harder for I think producers to hit that dump button on.
Yeah. And because, I mean, we love hearing natural sound and real sound and some of that dialogue on the field, and the producers know that. So yeah, that's a very, very interesting one. And Shannon, of course, one of the big parts of the Super Bowl is commercials. And apparently we've already got a little bit of controversy. Adidas with a very, very interesting ad coming out. I don't know if it's a Super Bowl ad, but it sure is making some noise out there.
Yeah, I don't get, like, Super Bowl ads are starting to come out earlier, right? In the rumblings, I try to just let it all hit me at once while I'm watching the Super Bowl, so I don't click on anything. But yesterday, I take my nap as per usual, and I wake up and I look at Twitter because what I do after my nap every day is then I start going through stories and topics and things to prep for the next day's show. And I see this someone retweeted this Adidas post that says, "We believe women's breasts in all shapes and sizes deserve support and comfort, which is why our new sports bra range contains 43 styles so everyone can find the right fit for them." And then there's a photo of 25 different female breasts just there. I thought like someone that I followed had been hacked, or like I somehow accidentally with my giant thumbs like maybe followed something I shouldn't have, or like I was like, what is this? Until I realized it was Adidas. It was verified. It was retweeted by someone who I trust and who I follow on Twitter. And then that Adidas was trending and that this was in fact real. It's not a hoax. If you go to the Adidas Twitter page right now, it is the pinned tweet. So it's very easy to find. I mean, I don't have, whatever. I'm a female. I don't care. I know what they look like. It's no shock to me. I was more shocked that it's still there, that people aren't fussing with the guidelines, or that there haven't been enough to maybe get it taken down. I don't know if this will be part of the Super Bowl. If it is, I don't think they could get away with the picture that they posted on Twitter.
And it is weird. I just looked at it. And for anybody, as you say, just go at Adidas on Twitter and on social media, and you can go find it. That is one of the compared to other countries and European countries.
Right.
And Shannon, I know you've traveled extensively in Europe. That is one of the weird things, that a woman's bare breasts are pretty taboo in the United States. Speaking of Super Bowl halftime, we had the controversy involving your boy Justin Timberlake once.
Correct.
So yeah, it is interesting that Adidas did this, but again, though, and we say this a lot, brilliant, because here we are talking about it, and a lot of people are looking at it and reacting to it positively and negatively. So they're certainly probably getting the publicity they're looking for.
Yeah, and I'm not offended by it. I don't think a lot of people were. I just think, again, because of where we are, it's just jarring. And again, I woke up from my nap. I was like, what side of Twitter am I on right now? Where did this come from? But it's very much a thing. And if this promotion works for Adidas, then good on them.
Yeah. And obviously Adidas, a big brand, but all of those brands, it's such a competition, with other, either sports apparel or sports, shoe wear brands, in this case, sports bras. It's obviously very competitive, and they're trying to, get a leg up on the competition. Speaking of competition, also we had some controversy at the Olympics yesterday, Shannon, involving a Russian ice skater that wound up even postponing a medal ceremony. What happened there?
So specifically a 15-year-old Russian ice skater. Russia won the gold medal in the team event, and this 15-year-old is a part of it. But with her drug test results coming back, she takes a heart medication that is actually banned because the medication is known to aid endurance and increase blood flow. Because she's only 15, she kind of falls under the protected persons, the WADA, which basically says because she's 15, she's not aware. She didn't know, right? She can play the I didn't know card, and that could, she could maybe be reprimanded, or the team could be reprimanded, but maybe not take away that medal from them. So they've been postponing the medal ceremony because they're trying to figure out what to do here. And it certainly doesn't help that she's Russian, right? Because they've already had that. That's just kind of the thing that people always go to immediately when you think Russian athletes and in the Olympics. And you probably read the headline, Russian doping scandal Olympics. You probably think, oh, here we go again. But it's a 15-year-old. There are these other rules in place. It's heart medication. So it's pretty complicated. It's on day 3 now of them trying to figure out what to do here. And how, will they still get the gold medal or not, and what to do with this 15-year-old.
And again, as you mentioned, Shannon, my first thought is it's a Russian athlete, and that automatically, as you described, tainted my first view hearing this story. It's like, yeah, 15, but you're a Russian athlete, and you obviously, if you were 11 and Russia was, you were on their Olympic team and they had an advantage they could give you, they would. I mean, I don't know what you can do other than, if, as you've often said, Shannon, rules are rules. If this is a banned medication, and if this Russian athlete didn't somehow come into these games with a waiver to say, hey, I have been treated by these doctors, I have a legitimate heart condition, this is why I take this medication, going into these games, that I think that person should have a waiver. We talked about the ski jumping women and their uniforms and, their apparel, their gear, and they were disqualified for having it too loose. Again, that's something like this situation with this 15-year-old Russian. I think it's something that should have been addressed before the games began instead of right now. Speaking of games, it's not a game. It's a way to make some money. $1,000. It's 8:20, so we'll jump into this for just a sec. It's the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. Somebody's going to win $1,000 right now. It may as well be you. Here's the keyword.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Deposit. That's deposit. Enter it on our station website now.
Deposit. We recommend you go to both websites, ticket760.com and AM 1300 The Zone. Double your chances of winning. We do this on the 20s, 20 after the hour, all day until 6:20 tonight. Good luck. Somebody wins $1,000 each hour. So Shannon, where do you stand on this? I'm automatically cynical because this is a Russian athlete. It's so funny. If this were a Norwegian athlete, would I feel different? How do you feel about it?
It's hard because Russia obviously has that history, and she's the one out there skating, at 15, but there are obviously coaches and others that are aware and typically aware of what goes into their bodies. They regiment nearly everything, especially for events like that. The other two females on that Russia team are 17, both of them, and the only people to perform this quadruple trick that apparently is so hard, including this 15-year-old, are those 17-year-olds. So only Russians manage this. And so the question now that they're, trying to decipher to ultimately either give them the medal or not is, did she take this medication because she needs it, or did the IOC, kind of feed it to her and get that into her system to help her to accomplish these tricks at such a young age? I don't know.
It's so amazing. It's so complicated how so many of these substances can help an athlete, and again, such a gray area whether or not this young 15-year-old female athlete from Russia needs this heart medication. All right, Shannon, another story I know you're tracking. This is kind of a fun one. It is a clash between the Super Bowl and the Olympics involving a Team USA Olympic skier. What do you got on that one?
Yeah, this one's kind of rough. You work your whole life to become an Olympic athlete. And at the age, I believe he's 23 years old, U.S. Olympic skier Nick, I'm going to pronounce his last name as Goper, Goepper. He is a trickster on the skis. He does all of the cool little jumps and the crossing. It just looks really cool when he's in the air. But he is a lifelong Bengals fan. And yes, the Bengals have been to the Super Bowl before, but given his young age, he's never seen it happen. He grew up near Cincinnati, and so that's where his allegiance has lied. And he's so excited and he got to watch the AFC Championship game. But he is in Beijing for the Olympics, and his event starts. So it kicks off. So he's got to be warmed up and prepared and in line, whatever goes on, travel to, be in place, ready for his event. Roughly 1 hour after the Super Bowl is expected to end. So he may get to watch part of the Super Bowl, but he may not get to know how it ends until after he is done. I'm hoping that the excitement of the Super Bowl doesn't that doesn't compete with the excitement of him, pursuing his Olympic dream and hopefully getting another medal for Team USA. But what an odd feeling that must be. Could you imagine your team finally gets there and then you're living out your dream, whatever it may be? Because I know you as a giant Cowboys fan, I mean, it wouldn't even have to be your dream, right? It could be like, say they scheduled a work meeting that was mandatory for everyone. You're like, really?
Oh God,
I got places to be,
right?
And it is not here.
Yeah. Well, and I'm guessing, and I guess I'm hoping. Well, two things occur to me. Number one, as an Olympic skier, he probably has a routine. Like you mentioned, his event's like an hour after the Super Bowl should be over. But most athletes on such an elite level, they have a routine. They eat what they eat at a certain time. You put on your equipment at a certain time. You get to the event at a certain time. You warm up and stretch at a certain time. So if he's tracking the Super Bowl on a smartphone, I mean, my goodness, that's probably going to compete with all of the prep that he normally does to focus on being the best skier he can be. But then the other side of that might be, Shannon, if he is tracking it on a smartphone, or if somebody tells him, hey man, the Bengals won the Super Bowl, it might get him so jacked up that he might go out and go, this is my day. My team just won. Yeah. I'm going to now go get gold on the day the Bengals won the Super Bowl. Or just the opposite. If the Bengals lose and they get beat 44-10 by the Rams, is he going to be bummed out? And will that affect his performance negatively?
Yeah.
He'll be a fun guy. It'll be fun to see how he does on Sunday in his event.
Yeah, it could. I mean, just imagine though, if he does go out there and win a medal, and then on top of that, the Bengals win, probably the best day of his life. And also, like, social media, I would assume he puts his phone up at some point, because the distraction already of the Olympic chatter, and then you throw in Super Bowl chatter. But best of luck to him this weekend on Sunday, or I guess that would technically be Monday in China. But best of luck, Nick.
And I wonder if he wears any Bengals gear, like underneath his, if he's got a Bengals t-shirt underneath, or a Bengals sock, or wristband or something.
Some of the photos I've seen of him, he rocks some of that Bengals orange on some of his attire. So maybe
Nice.
that's got something to do with it.
Well, we will talk more Super Bowl. In fact, we'll talk a little bit. We'll go around the world of sports with Andy Everett. He is the voice of UTSA athletics. Also, he's the golf guru, resident golf guru in these parts, as host of the golf show on Ticket 760 on Saturday mornings at 8. And we will certainly talk Super Bowl, and we will get a Super Bowl pick from Andy Everett. Will he go old Dave OEHLER? Dave OEHLER picked the Rams over the Bengals 27-24. Nobody's picked a blowout yet. Will Andy Everett pick the blowout one way or another? We're about to find out. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Dave OEHLER, and me. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. John Williams, I don't think Tomas Satoransky, I've looked at his career numbers. I don't see him as being a big impact guy. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for him to be a big impact guy. They just traded a guy for him. So, Juancho Hernan Gomez. So I see him as kind of on the same level with that guy. What's happening?
Christopher Duel.
What is up?
I understand you might be open to doing an endorsement.
Yes, let me Yeah, Louisa, that should be like, you would think that would be a basic ground rule in the Olympics. It's like, list your medications, declare whether or not you are taking, tell us what you're taking, tell us what, and if it's a banned substance, then we know in advance, and there should be no surprises after you win Olympic gold. That makes total sense. I need to write down. I do have my special book where I'm keeping these Super Bowl predictions. So, see, I have from yesterday, Bill Schoening and James Allen. Why am I having such a hard time getting that in the shot? Bill Schoening, Cincinnati 31-24. James Allen, 30-27. And now we add Dave OEHLER. Who has the Rams. So right now it is 2-1 Rams. Bill Schoening picking Cincinnati by 7. James Allen and Dave OEHLER, interestingly, both of them have Rams by 3. And the line is 3.5. Go look at Andy's Twitter, See if there's anything Andy's talking about. Andy and Paul Alexander, who will join us tomorrow, often put very insightful sports takes. Whoops. There he is. Let's see. All right. Yeah, it says that Andy's first gig was as the voice of the St. Mary's Rattlers, and that Buddy Meyer made it happen. Interesting. So yeah, we'll go there with Andy. We should get Tanner's picks. That's a great idea. I'll try to remember that. John Williams has suggested Jeremy Fouts make his picks. We would certainly add those to our list. Somebody in here said James Harden got traded. I don't see that on social media. Let me just double check before I start the next segment. Yeah. No. So yeah, somebody here, Alian Siddiqui says Harden just got traded. We don't run with that until we track it down, because it might be just that. It might be fake news. Dave Ehler is calling Andy Everett. Andy's probably in the middle of his yoga class. Cool, sir. What are you coming back with? Cool. Mamma Mia. Yeah, I know, Jason. When I saw that, though, we were in the middle of the segment when that guy posted that. So obviously, it's like, we need to talk about that if that just happened. But yeah, that was a troll. That was somebody lying. Probably a Russian bot. Not today, Putin. Not today. Woo! Oh, I got my Andy Everett photo here somewhere. Let me go find Andy. There he is. Andy Everett on the phone. Andy is currently on the phone. We just haven't gotten to him yet because we're not back yet. Iced tea. Mamma Mia by ABBA or ABBA, depending on how you would like to pronounce it. When we play ABBA on this radio station or these radio stations, you have a good chance that Andy Everett is somewhere in the vicinity. He is a card-carrying ABBA fan, as am I. Darn it. I'm cool with it. Andy Everett, the host of the golf show on Ticket 760, 8 in the morning on Saturday mornings. You can find that on the iHeartRadio app if you're outside San Antonio. Also, the voice of UTSA Athletics, Andy Everett. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
I am good. I saw a post that you made on Facebook that I want to ask you about. San Antonio, in the sports world in San Antonio, we lost two giants within days of each other. One of whom was a broadcaster, Gary DeLon. I spoke extensively about Gary DeLon on this show with Shannon, Andy. But you posted about your experience with Buddy Meyer, the longtime and I would say legendary head coach of the St. Mary's Rattlers out of San Antonio, led them to an NAIA championship at one point. And I did not realize this, Andy, until you wrote about it. You credit Buddy Meyer with being instrumental in your career and in what you do today. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, in the 1989-90 season, the radio station made a deal with St. Mary's to cover about 20-some of their 30 games plus the NCAA or the NAIA tournament, which they did not make that year. But we did a bunch of games, and then that kind of dissolved. And a few years later, Buddy and I were talking, and he said, "Do you want to be our broadcaster again?" And I said yes. And basically, Buddy had such a great following around St. Mary's with a lot of people that would support him in the program. And we were able, through his efforts, to find sponsors to buy time on a radio station and to create a radio broadcast. And from the 93-94 season through the 96-97 season, I did all the St. Mary's games. And we traveled as far west as Hawaii and as far east as South and Central Florida. So we were all, and a lot of those trips in that time were not on airplanes. They were on buses. And we bused for 2 days sometimes to games. And so you really got to know people a lot and had lots of great conversations with them. And I remember playing golf with him on our Hawaii trip and lots of great memories from all of that. And it was Buddy and I that kind of put St. Mary's games on the radio for a few years until the university went a different direction with that. But I started doing the Spurs studio in what would have been my fifth year, which kind of took me away from the St. Mary's games. But I learned a lot of basketball, and I learned a lot of life lessons from a guy that played at St. Mary's, coached at St. Mary's, was the athletic director at St. Mary's, and just a great influential person for me.
Andy, since we last spoke, UTSA men's basketball has not fared well. They have not yet won a game. They've got, 6 games left in the regular season. They take on Western Kentucky this Saturday at 3:00. How do you see the rest of this season shaking out for the UTSA Roadrunners? Well,
I think the biggest issue with UTSA is the most important thing in a basketball game is putting the ball in the basket. And UTSA has struggled mightily at scoring. They're the 5th worst scoring team in the nation. They're also the best rebounding team in the conference. They're the 3rd best rebounding team in the nation. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the nation. They play pretty decent defense. I think they're number 1 in the conference in assists per game. They just don't have enough assists and enough baskets. And I think at some point that becomes your MO. You are kind of, as Bill Parcells says, at some point you are what you are. And right now UTSA is really struggling to shoot the basketball. They did beat Florida International about 2 weeks ago for their only conference win. And they have a really difficult game with Western Kentucky this week. Southern Miss has struggled as well. They'll play them next week, but on the road in a place where we've never won. But then the conference tournament rolls around. And the way the conference tournament rolls around is the bottom 4 teams play each other in basically a play-in game. So 11, 12, 13, and 14 are all about the same. Marshall's not had a very good year, so there could be some irony in this season where even if UTSA isn't successful, and I think they may win a game or two coming down the stretch here, but they could also win maybe one game in the conference tournament that would get them an extra postseason round. And I think reps are always important. If you can play as many postseason games as you can, that's always a good thing, even if you've had a poor regular season, because it puts you in the mindset of what tournament play is like for when your team gets a little bit more maturity and you're a better team down the road.
He is Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics. And Andy, I noticed early in the season, UTSA got a victory over IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. UTSA beat them earlier in the year, 60-57. Shannon and I talked about a story this week. IUPUI needs players. I'm not sure if it's COVID, if it's transfers, if it's injuries, but they're having an open tryout among the student body. How rare is that for a major basketball program that once produced George Hill? How bizarre of a story do you find that?
Well, interestingly enough, IUPUI is one of the teams in the country that's below UTSA in shooting percentage, so they're shooting it worse. So when I was in high school, Oklahoma switched to head coaches from Dave Bliss to Billy Tubbs. And the cupboard was completely bare when Billy Tubbs got there. And he literally, and I wasn't at OU at this time, but the story goes is he went to the rec center and started looking at intramural games and picked 2 or 3 players out of the intramurals and said, "Hey, you want to come play with us?" Now, what he forgot to do is promise them preferred walk-on status the following year, because once he started going out and recruiting his own guys, he kind of forgot about those guys. But there was literally guys out of the rec league that went straight to go play Kansas and Iowa that year in Big A basketball.
Wow.
I would say. So I have seen it happen before, and it's very, very rare. But when you don't have a lot of players coming back from a previous administration, and if I'm not mistaken, the coach that's there now is a former IUPUI player, a former IUPUI coach that coached George Hill, and is basically trying to start that program over after a few lean seasons.
Andy, I've got to ask you while we've got you on about Jordan Spieth, because he made headlines for what they're calling death-defying shot when he stood on the edge of a cliff to try and hit one over onto the green. Have you ever done something so dangerous? And what were your thoughts when he had the option to take a drop versus do the shot that he ultimately took?
Well, I don't think I've ever done anything that dangerous, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't do something that dangerous in that particular deal. If that were and I've never been to Pebble Beach, but I'm guessing that if that were at Pebble Beach during a recreational round for the resort guests, the caddy or some maintenance staff would have had a rope further back from that and say, "Please don't cross this line," and you would have gotten a free drop since they don't want you to take dive off the cliff. But I'm not surprised that he tried to hit the shot. And if you look at what he did, as soon as he made contact, he started falling backwards. And professional golfers are probably good enough to do that. That's not saying he couldn't have slipped and, taken a dive down the cliff. And when you look at the drone coverage of it, it's even scarier than just standing there. But that's what makes great players great, is they do things that we don't expect. And I'm not surprised he hit the shot. But he took he took an extra club, he took an easy swing, and as soon as he made contact, he was backing up so that he didn't fall forward. So it may not have been as dangerous as it looked, or it could have been even more dangerous than it looked. But he pulled it off, and it's something we'll be able to look at as a highlight forever.
He is Andy Everett, host of the Golf Show on Ticket 760 Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock. And, of course, the voice of UTSA athletics. And, Andy, we got to talk to you about the Super Bowl, the big one on Sunday, Super Bowl 56, 5:30, kickoff shortly after 5:30, Rams versus Bengals. Shannon and I are aboard the Joe Burrow love train. Are you joining us on the Joe Burrow love train? What do you think of this guy?
Well, Yeah, I think he's an absolute winner. I really like the way he's performed in the playoffs, and he's cool under pressure. But I think one of the things that we're seeing, and I've said this for a number of years, Matt Stafford's a great quarterback. And he played on the absolute worst franchise in the history of the NFL for most of his career, where they never had a chance for him to win. And it just goes to show you that if your ownership and your management team isn't as good as your players, you've got no chance. And I get so frustrated with teams that don't want to win, pretend that they're trying to win, tell the fans, come buy tickets, we're going to win it this year, but their actions never speak at that same volume. And I think the Detroit Lions, and not living there and not being a part of that media scene or whatever, but to me, they're a dysfunctional family. And I'm glad for Matt Stafford that he's finally been able to go someplace where he can perform. I think he's a really good player, and I expect him to have a similar fight that Joe Burrow will. I remember, I think I filled in for either you or Mike Taylor back in November, and I said, keep an eye out for the Rams. They're starting to peak. They're starting to play a good football, and I'm not surprised that they're where they're at. Good coach, good quarterback, good receivers, decent defense. And so I don't think you should write the Rams off, but so far Cincinnati's been the Cinderella story. And I don't really care who wins, but for what Matt Stafford's had to go through in Detroit for his career, I'm kind of hoping he does.
Yeah, if I'm pulling for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati just because I just tend to like them a little more. But if indeed the Rams win this game, as they are favored to do, I will be very, very happy for Matthew Stafford. Andy, I know you don't really care that much. You don't have a dog in the fight, but we want to get you on the record so that in case you nail the final score, we can give you accolades. Who do you pick if you have to pick a winner in this Super Bowl, and give us a final score?
31-27 Rams.
31-27 Rams. Very close. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame had 30-27 Rams. So you think very much like he does. We shall see. Are you a Super Bowl party guy, Andy, or are you like me? Do you have to just lock in on? I prefer to watch it alone or with my wife. I don't want anybody bothering me when I'm watching the Super Bowl. Are you going to be locked in on it Sunday?
Well, I do like parties, but we haven't had any lately, and I'm not even sure what the rules are to have them anymore. So, or what's the correct thing you should do? I actually have plans to play golf someplace on Sunday, and I'll probably get to a TV at some point before 5 o'clock. But other than that, I can go either way, but I'll watch. But if there's an opportunity to do it with a group of people, I could be talked into that as well.
All right. Be sure to catch Andy this weekend before he plays golf on Sunday. He'll be doing the golf show 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Ticket $760 in San Antonio. And of course, if you're outside San Antonio, find it on the iHeartRadio app. Andy, great stuff as always, sir. Have a great Super Bowl weekend.
You guys too. See you next week.
All right. Thanks so much, Andy. All right, Shannon, so far we got 4 of us on the record. You and I will make our Super Bowl picks tomorrow. But with Andy Everett now, Andy's got the Rams 31-27. James Allen's got the Rams 30-27. Bill Schoening has the Bengals 31-24. And Dave OEHLER, who won't be with us on the show tomorrow, Rams 27-24. Starting to see our last 3 predictors, Shannon, in a row, because Bill picked first. We got 3 Rams selections in a row now.
Yeah. As we get closer, I'm looking at the teams. I feel like the Rams are the better team here. I think the line shows that. My heart wants the Bengals to win, but we'll see. Well, we'll have final predictions for you tomorrow, as well as some fun Super Bowl prop bets that we find.
Yes, we will be all over the Super Bowl prop bets. Dave OEHLER, you will be leaving us tomorrow. You'll be down the hall, 50,000 watt blowtorch, 1200 WOAI, talking about serious things. So we will miss you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Should be back on Wednesday.
Oh, so you won't be back Monday. So if you nail your Super Bowl pick, we can't even, praise or mock you on Monday.
I'll gloat when I come back on Wednesday.
All right. Very good. I hope you're wrong, because I'm hoping for the Bengals. I don't know that I'll pick the Bengals tomorrow. Maybe I'll be real, or maybe I'll, like you, I'll go, opposite of what I want.
I want the Bengals to win too, but I just don't think they're going to.
There you go. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Dave OEHLER, Shannon Salty, Sweeney, outstanding. Shannon and I will be back in 21 hours. Coach A, Paul Alexander, among our guests tomorrow, as it is our Super Bowl preview show tomorrow. The game, the players, the prop bets, and more. Don't forget the NBA trading deadline, 2:00 this afternoon for all the breaking news. Keep it right here. We will see you in 21 hours. Adios, amigos. Jason, Luisa, Pablo, adios. We will see you tomorrow. And I know Luisa is going for the Rams, but go Bengals. Go Joe Burrow. Yes.